Alright, welcome back to another video where I just kind of rant for a bit about like things I would put into a game if I had the ability, funds, or knowledge of how to do so. In today's video, we're going to be going over the PvE systems I would add. So, raids, dungeons, stuff like that. Now, this being a ideally similar to like a classic MMORPG, think Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft. You can probably mix a bit of Destiny in there too. There's going to be a lot of classic, raids, dungeons, I don't know, strikes if you play Destiny, things of that sort. There's also going to be, randomly spawning enemies in just the world that can drop stuff. But there are also a couple other modes of just classic PvE stuff that I would add. Now, first off for this is going to be like a simplified roguelike mode, right? So what that means is I'm thinking probably, couple different aesthetics, maps that could have it, whatever you want to call. Maybe there's one that's like a skyscraper that you're like going up the floors. Maybe there's one that's just a classic stone brick underground dungeon. Think 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 along those lines. Now what it's going to be is there would be just randomly generating rooms with enemies, things like that. There'd be bosses. The bosses would have specialized loot. You'd be able to get upgrades. Classic roguelike. Now, the other thing about this is each of these PvE modes, I would want each of them to have specialized loot for that mode. So the roguelike mode would have weapons that, like, the more you hit, the faster it gets. Ups your attack speed over time within, some time frame, not just like permanent upgrade. I'm talking like spells that maybe do more damage the farther they fly, or get faster the farther they fly. Like that, yeah. Kind of like roguelike upgrades is the idea. I think that could use a bit of workshopping, but that's the basic idea. Is the loot you would get from that game mode would match the theme of the game mode, right? Now, second off is there'd be like world boss type events, right? So you'd have these big bosses like dragons, things of that sort, that would just spawn in the world randomly. You fight them, you get special drops from them. Now, for a world boss, this would mean something along the lines of a weapon or a spell that is much slower, not going to hit nearly as often, but when it does, it's going to be really big and flashy and powerful. Like a world boss. Doesn't show up often, but when it does, it's a whole big thing. Alright. Now the next game mode we're gonna go over is gonna be like a tower defense mode. And I think this one would be fun. Cause I don't know if you've ever heard of a game called Dungeon Defenders, I think it was called. I haven't played it in ages. It's a tower defense game, but you're also like running around as a player fighting the enemies. I thought that game was so much fun back in the day. This would be a very similar idea, but it would be very different in practice. It'd be a tower defense game mode. You have your balloons, we'll call them that because fucking balloons tower defense. You have your balloons, you have your monkeys, tower defense game mode, but you're also running around as a player. And again, probably a couple different maps. You have like classic castle, maybe you have another one that's in like a skyscraper and you're defending like upper floors from enemies that are trying to ascend up the tower. Loot for this one would be very much like stationary stuff. So think tank, heavy armor, slower weapons, similar to the world boss stuff for melee fighters. But for spellcasters, that would mean put out a spell and it like summons a little turret. I I feel like that one's That one's pretty easy to figure out, right? Alright, now our last PvE game mode for this, last one that I've really thought about, is it's Pokemon, right? In this game, I would want any and every wild animal or thing of that sort that you come across to be available as a like creature companion to give you, I don't know, like buffs or however it might work. But the idea is that you'd be able to capture any animal you come across and just have it as a pet in game. But be fun if you could also make them fight each other to the death, so they each have, you know, their own attacks and stuff. It would not be turn-based, and they would not have only 4 moves, but I think it would be fun. It'd be much more simplistic than the actual base combat of the game, you know? We wouldn't program in-depth unique combos and spells for each and every wild animal. I do think it would be fun though. And I mean, there probably would be some that are like dragons, because in this world, this game would be dragons would be like fully sentient, like humans. They'd have their own civilization and stuff. I'm getting off topic. That's not what this video is about. That's for another video. In this video, talking about PvE systems, we're talking about Pokemon. You know, tournaments. Maybe if you do good in a beast fighting tournament, you get a special creature companion or a set of armor for a creature companion. You get the idea. You get the idea. And then obviously, you know, I said this at the beginning, you're going to have like classic raids and dungeons, things of that sort. Because that's what people love. It's classic MMORPG stuff. Okay, so that is all the bullet points I have for the PvE system. So that's going to be all that we have for today. Probably going to circle back around this in a future video, start going in depth. My idea for these videos is essentially over time, it's just going to become a more and more fleshed out game. So like right now we have these base concepts, right? But over time, we'll come back to this and we'll start going in depth on like what a raid would look like. What kind of puzzles and systems and parkour sections it would have, right? But anyways, thanks for watching. Check out other videos in this playlist if you want to see more. And I'll see you next time. Bye.